Hello and welcome to the Reykjavik Newsdesk. I'm Andie Sophia Fontaine, and these are the weekend's top stories in Iceland. If you like the content that you see here, be sure and like and subscribe. And if you really like the content that you see here, check out the Patreon link in the description below to see what kind of goodies you can get just by kicking a little extra coin our way. But now, the weekend's top stories. It looks like Iceland will not be lowering the voting age anytime soon. A new poll from Þjóðarpúls Gallup shows that some 63% of respondents were against the idea of lowering the voting age from 18 to 16. Now, this is an idea that's been around for some time, mostly because it's around the age of 16 that compulsory education ends and a person can just enter the workforce and begin working and paying taxes like any other voter. But if this poll is any indication, it seems that this idea's time has not yet come. That said, when you look at the actual breakdown of the demographics in this poll, there's some pretty interesting results. As one might expect, the younger a respondent was, the more likely they were to support lowering the voting age, and the higher the income a respondent had, the less likely they were to support lowering the voting age. But voters for two right-wing parties, the Independence Party and the Reform Party, showed the highest levels of support of all voters for lowering the voting age. Go figure. The Council of Europe summit was held last week, and it left a lot of questions unanswered. And yes, that is a picture of our Prime Minister with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. Yes, they're sharing a laugh together. Anyway, as I reported, there were a lot of preparations for this summit, including shutting down a large portion of downtown Reykjavik. But another aspect of this summit was bringing in machine guns for our police to carry. In case you didn't already know, Icelandic police officers typically don't even carry a sidearm on their person, let alone machine guns. Automatic and semi-automatic weapons are typically reserved for our Special Weapons and Tactics team, the Viking Squad. Well, the summit has come and gone, and what happened to those machine guns is anyone's guess. Reporters have asked the police what was done with these machine guns and haven't been able to get any answers. So we don't know if they've been sold. We don't know if they've been returned. We don't know if they're sitting in a storage locker somewhere in police headquarters. I guess we'll find out eventually. Speaking of the police, do you remember when I reported on the fake Samherji site? Now, in case you miss it, Samherji is a fishing giant, which a couple years ago was found to have been bribing Namibian officials in exchange for lucrative fishing quotas in Namibian waters. This thing blew up, and it was international news. A number of Namibian officials have since been arrested and charged and are awaiting trial, but not a single person from Samherji has faced any justice whatsoever. Well, last week, a website registered as samherji.co.uk sprung up. It looked a lot like an official Samherji website, but it was clearly not, because on this website was posted a lengthy apology for engaging in this type of corruption. And, you know, it was pretty obvious from the get-go that this was not Samherji's work, but whose was it? Well, it turns out that the website was the work of an artist named Odie, and this was his graduation project. He was contacted by an Icelandic detective who was pretending to be a freelance journalist, asking questions about the website and who was behind the website and things of this nature. And when this came to light, when the detective in question was revealed, reporter contacted him asking, "Why did you contact this website pretending to be a freelance journalist?" The cop had responded, "It's not entirely untrue. I am kind of a freelance journalist because I've sent many columns to media outlets who have printed them." And for the record, sending columns and letters to the editor to media outlets does not make someone a journalist in Iceland, at least not yet. The left Greens have finally found something to disagree with Justice Minister Jón Gunnarsson about. Now, this justice minister, who's from the Independence Party, had managed to circumvent Parliament and give the police tasers, something that, when it was introduced to Parliament in the past, had been shot down time and again. He also pushed through a very racist immigration bill, which was criticized by human rights organizations across the country as breaking international law and violating Iceland's constitution. The left Greens didn't stand in his way, and in fact, they voted in favor of this bill, but they apparently draw the line at selling alcohol on the internet. Jón's proposal to begin to allow the sale of alcohol on the internet was something that the left Greens adamantly opposed, and this is absolutely a bridge too far for them. Just to give you a little background, Iceland does have some pretty strict laws about the sale of alcohol. For example, you cannot buy alcohol from anywhere but bars, restaurants, and government-owned monopoly stores. That's right, the beer that you see in the supermarkets is either a very low alcohol content, like 2 or 2.25%, or has no alcohol in it at all. So don't be fooled. If you're going out to buy a six-pack, don't buy it from a supermarket, because it's not going to do anything for you. The conservatives, from which Jon hails, have been really in favor of trying to sell alcohol in private shops, and leftists, in particular the left Greens, have been staunchly opposed to this for a very long time. For example, beer was not legal in Iceland until 1989, and when there was a debate about this in Parliament, a member of Parliament named Steingrímur Sigfússon was one of the most adamantly opposed to allowing the sale of beer again, to legalizing beer again, and Steingrímur himself would go on to be one of the founding members and the first chairman of the Left Green Party. Some sad news to report, as it seems that the puffin population is in the worst shape that it's ever been. And these little birds are emblematic of Iceland. You can find them adorning many a souvenir that you can buy. And you can also go on any number of tours where you can watch the little birds flying around and diving in the water after fish. They're really pretty and they're really adorable. Everyone loves them. Puffins are also hunted, which is why you might see them on menus here from time to time. But their numbers have been decreasing a lot for many years. In fact, over the past 30 years, their population has declined by some 70%. Why is the population declining? Well, because of climate change, really. As the seas are getting warmer, the fish that the puffins feed on are starting to leave, and consequently, the puffins are starving. As a result of this, there have been calls to shorten the puffin hunting season even further. It has been gradually shortening over the years, but with these new findings, the calls are stronger than ever to just put a total moratorium on the puffin hunting season altogether, and at least until the population can return to a normal state. So here's hoping for the best for these lovely little birds. In far better bird news, the Biko raven hatchlings are now fully feathered and may be leaving the nest very soon. Now, as I reported on before, about 12 years ago, a raven pair known as Hrap and Hrepna, which is the masculine and feminine forms of raven, respectively, they set up a nest over the entrance to the homeware department store Biko in Selfoss, South Iceland. Now, ravens typically return to the same nest every single year, and somebody noticing this nest had the brilliant idea to set up a live stream webcam there. And so every year we've been able to watch this raven pair lay their eggs, incubate them, hatch them, feed them, care for them, and then see the younglings leave the nest. Well, these raven youngins are now very well feathered, and they typically leave the nest about 4 to 7 weeks after hatching. So if you want to check them out, I strongly recommend that you do so now before they're gone. I've put a link to the live stream in the description. Please check it out. I swear that it will brighten your day. I'd also like to announce the next Ask Me Anything session will be held this Saturday, 27th at 1600 hours GMT. The Ask Me Anything sessions are for my $20 patrons, so you can still get in on this and by checking out the Patreon in the description below. To join this Ask Me Anything session, be able to ask me, well, anything, as the title would suggest, about myself, about Newsdesk, about Iceland, whatever springs to mind, within reason. Also, a new viewer poll will be coming soon. Now, if you saw my previous video about the history of Iceland, you'll know that my single topic videos are decided by polls that $15 and $20 patrons can respond to. So if you have a burning topic that you really want to see me cover, I strongly recommend that you get on that. You can do that now, and the poll's coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. In any event, that's all for me. If you like the content that you see here, be sure and like and subscribe. And if you really like the content that you see here, check out the Patreon below. Which reminds me, I want to thank Corinne Vasquez, Marion Ward, Christopher Hunter, Marion Moores, Kimberly McDaniel, Iceman98, and Octavia Hrund Jonsdottir for being patrons on the $20 level, Laura Johnson for being a patron on the $15 level, and Stephen Ellis and Vivi Carvalho Schaffner for being patrons on the $10 level. You folks rock. That's all from me at Newsdesk. Be good to each other.